So what got you into film photography? Like, what's interesting about that format for you?
It definitely started off like I think I was driving myself insane with just working on so many commercial projects and personal projects on the side and stuff that I wanted kind of like an outlet
Yeah.
that I could still practice, like going out and shooting and editing, but really low pressure. Like when I
Yeah.
started it, I never was like, I'm gonna become really good at this so I can start to like professionally do it and start charging people.
Yeah, like just a low pressure outlet.
Yeah, I wanted something really low pressure,
Yeah.
and I had had plenty of like 35 millimeter cameras in the past, and was like the classic, just like going to Walgreens to get like your films
Yeah.
developed and stuff like that, and they always like came out pretty whack, honestly, and it really wasn't their fault. It was probably always my fault, not knowing what I was really doing all the way yet.
Yeah.
And then like I think right before spring rolled around, like I had seen some of those older photos that I had taken that just weren't the best looking, and I was like, you know what, like my ego won't let me like be bad at this. And this
Yeah,
is
you
something
can't
that
call
I
that
love.
the end.
Yeah,
of that.
like
Yeah.
and I love seeing like this format, like this medium, like really kind of have a revival over the past year, I'd say.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
It's been a big boom and come up. A lot of people have been shooting medium format and 35 millimeter and stuff like that. So I went out and just bought a new camera and like really just took a whole month to like get to know it, the ins and outs, and its pros and cons, and just started shooting after that. But the cool thing is that when I go out and shoot, I'm either super conservative about what I'm shooting because I'm like, I have 36 like exposures on this roll, like
Yeah.
I want to make sure I utilize them. But then if I'm like in a surrounding where it's just like everywhere, like if I go hiking and it's just beautiful scenery everywhere, I'm just a madman shooting. Not concerned. I'm so unconservative the way that I'm shooting.
But it does make you think about like how many shots you've got more than like you can just spray and pray with digital photography.
Yeah.
And just shoot a ton.
But in that sense that it's helped me a ton.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten better at composition and my lighting, just knowing like the time of day and where my sun's at, and knowing what's going to make a good shot.
Yeah, and just being forced to be selective about what you're shooting.
And my ego gets the best of me at times because like I get a roll back where I'm just like super jazzed about what's on it. And so I'm like, okay, like this is working, this is really good and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then when I see like a scan come back to me that like isn't the best, I'm just like, this is unacceptable. Like I have to make every shot be the best. But that really isn't what this is about for me. It's kind of to just have like a really cool lasting memory. Like it's very nostalgic to shoot it. It feels good, and like to send people like, hey, like I took this portrait of you or something like that. Or like this is a memory that I have on this format that like just makes that memory just a little more special. It's just like a really cool extra step with like shooting 35 millimeter medium format.
Yeah. So the idea behind so I've been shooting film the past couple, well, not film. The idea behind this film, I've been shooting the past couple weeks on the floppy disk camera that only does 3 or 4 second bursts, and each disc you get like 3 shots on it. And I've been thinking about the similarity between that and film. It's like I only have a certain amount of clips I can take,
right?
Similar to I only have a certain amount of shots I can take, and I'm kind of trying to approach it in a similar way of like forcing myself to be more intentional about what I'm shooting. To make producing videos faster, right? I want to force myself to, instead of the spray and pray approach of just filming a bunch and deciding everything in the edit later, being intentional to be more streamlined about things. And obviously the floppy disk camera is not the actual production, that's not the actual tool that's going to be used in the production, but it's kind of a learning opportunity of being more selective. I don't know, do you feel like you're like since you've started shooting film, that kind of attitude of I keep using the word selective, but that attitude of being selective with what you shoot. Do you think that's rolled over into your filming?
Totally. I'm very more aware of like, how do I want to word that? I'm a lot more conscious or aware of, like, I don't need all of this. You know what I mean? I'm not spraying like the way that you say, like just like, rapid fire shooting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more selective. And I still like, rapid fire shoot from time to time, especially if there's like something that I really want to capture.
Yeah, when you're filming a race, you kind of have to be that way.
But like, it has made me more selective of like what I necessarily need to capture rather than all the stuff that's just going to sit there, like the leftover scraps.
Yeah.
And I mean, film kind of drives me crazy though, because it's like the waiting game sucks unless you're like one of those that's developing your own photos. Like the waiting game is so harsh, but the payoff of like the memory that you have from it, the finally getting it back, and that feeling of just like, wow, like this turned out like is such a rewarding feeling. And I'm probably there's endless film photographers that do this professionally that are just, they're probably like, this guy's talking out of his ass right now. But I don't know, there's like a really rewarding feeling, and I've slowly gotten that feeling with like my shooting on like personal projects and films of like, I guess I've taken time to do more pre-production almost of like shot listing and being like, okay, this is exactly what I need,
knowing
to make
what you're setting out for. And
that all has like kind of happened due to like the selectiveness of like shooting 35 millimeter.
It's kind of funny you talk about the payoff of finally getting to see the end product, and I'm like, there is a similarity with the floppy disk camera of the drives read so slow and they don't work half the time, and then once you get it, you have to convert it to a different file type to get it to actually edit. But then after all that, there is no payoff. It's just bad looking footage.
Like, I think one of the cool things, like the similarities between like the floppy disk and like shooting film is like there's so many times where like I don't leave the house now ever since spring. Like I always bring my 35 millimeter and like another personal camera with me, and my like film camera is usually like sitting in my passenger seat. And there's been so many times of like I'm driving and I see maybe like a really just beautiful car, or like the way like the sun's setting somewhere like over a barn or something, like and I don't stop. I'm so PO'd about it because I'm like, like the thing about film is like you do only have that one shot, and it's like if you don't capture that memory, it's gone forever, and that's fine, and you have to be okay with that. Like you have to be okay with like I missed out on that because you can't shoot everything, and you really don't want to. But it's kind of the same thing with floppy disks. It's like you only have those 3 seconds. So it's like I have to make sure in this 3-second window, the most interesting thing my subject is doing happens, or like it looks the best. I have those 3 seconds, and it's like very similar of like deciding what moments you want to capture on film, like to stop and pull over and shoot, or like when you want to pull that, like push the shutter button and capture it. Like there's a lot of similarities in the way that works.
Definitely. And almost in a different way, I feel like the payoff of this whole 3-week experiment in filming with the floppy disk camera is like, I bought a new point and shoot camera that arrives today that I haven't got yet. I'm excited to shoot on that. I haven't really shot on my new Sony that I just got. So like the payoff of this whole project is like, once I've forced myself to like learn this lesson of being really selective with what I'm filming, then the reward is I get to go and shoot on the good cameras that I want to shoot on.
Totally.
That's
sick.
I think we probably have enough.
Hell yeah.
And the AC repairman is coming back.
Nice.
Sweet.
Cool.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go inside.
Whatever it is that you do, I think there's value in lowering the quality, lowering the stakes, just approaching it as an outlet. There's a time to be serious and perfectionist, and there's a time to be exploratory. And that is an idea that's easier said than implemented. I've been thinking about that concept for a while, but only just very recently kind of trying to put it into practice. A big factor of what makes something fun is the stakes being low, I think. It's why if you have a hobby that you really enjoy that turns into a business, maybe loses some of the joy that was attached to it because now there's money attached, there's pressure. And I think limiting the amount of perfectionism that I allow myself to indulge in on a project is a really important thing that I have to stay conscious of. It's not something that happens naturally, at least for me. My natural instinct is to tweak things into oblivion, to whenever I see anything that could be a little better, I want to make it better. For instance, stumbling over my words in that last take, but I'm not going to retake it. That's going in. I'm trying to get in that mindset of being more intentional about letting things go, because I could spend the rest of the evening working on this piece to camera, but instead I'll just let it be what it is. And I think there's also merit to leaving things more raw. I was thinking about this recently. A lot of my favorite YouTube channels are very unedited or intentionally not high production value. I was watching an interview with Colin and Samir where they were talking about a video that they were making that they edited so highly that they felt they edited the human aspect out of it. And I think that's a trap that's easy to fall into, whatever medium you're in, whether it's making videos, paintings, writing books, woodworking, of changing your work to fit the mold of whatever you think the objective best version of that medium is, rather than just letting things stay raw how you are as an artist.